Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy-Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy-Munson, and I'm struggling to even know why we're talking about this, but I will, because you know what? If some people are out there that just aren't sure what to do about chickenpox, or if they get a cold or flu, or now the newest, latest, greatest thing that's come out, which is monkeypox, it's crazy. And so as the public, I think they understand that we don't know what a pox is. And so they can pull the wool over all of our eyes, which is really frustrating to me. And so those of you that have some modicum of memory, if you're in your late 40s, early 50s or beyond, you probably remember having chickenpox, or maybe you were so young that your parents told you had chickenpox, but you don't remember it, or you've got a chickenpox scar. Because most people do. And the ultimate reason, let's talk about what first a pox is, and does it matter whether it's called a monkeypox or a donkeypox or a camelpox or a chickenpox. It really doesn't matter. And so when we have a sore, an eruption on the skin that is caused by whatever virus or bacteria or fungus or conglomerate of anything that's going on in the body, and we have a pox. That eruption is now the body trying to expel debris. And what's interesting is I think I have a chickenpox scar on my forehead. And if I'm not mistaken, I remember my sister having one on her cheek, but I don't really remember anymore. And anyways, they're itchy. And the reason that they're itchy is because as they're healing, that tissue is contracting to close up and to heal. And that contractile nature of tissue, how many of us had a cut on our hand? And it starts to heal and it starts itching. And of course you scratch the scab off and it bleeds again. Your parents tell you, don't do that, it'll scar. Well, yes, that is somewhat true. As we keep opening up that wound, it does make the tissue not so happy, and so it will try to scar. So that's why they try to keep children from scratching with chickenpox, because they didn't want them scars all over. But, we're kids, we know any better. And so for most folks, what we want to do in any kind of cold flu situation is we really want to support the immune system. And I've spoke on at length about the immune system and how do we support it? How do we detox correctly? How do we get the stuff out of our body in a good way rather than coming through the skin or our sinuses or going out the other end like a freight train? So the first thing we want to do is always some form of calcium. Calcium is a tissue strengthener as well as an immune system support. So the immune cells use calcium to help actually kill bacteria and viruses and funguses and all that stuff, if viruses can even be killed. But it ultimately is supporting the immune system in a massive way to help. If you tend to lean towards a dry cough or an unproductive cough or a tickle in your throat you just can't control, you're calcium deficient to be sure. So those are kind of some symptoms that you might notice that, hey, how do I know if calcium's my issue? You would notice in terms of dry cough, dry skin, muscle cramps, dry hair, that would all be part of the calcium need. Now, in order to digest calcium and to get stuff out of your body when you're sick, you always need gut support. And so that gut support comes in terms of some type of good acidifier product like a raw apple-cider-vinegar. I've got products at the office that I'll use. I'll test them specifically on people to see which their body likes most. So I've got at least a half a dozen things that I'll use. For younger kids, I'll typically use something that is an enzyme product because we can just simply mix it up in a bite of food and they can take it. Since most children have trouble taking some sort of vitamin or mineral or pill. So if you're an adult, though, could you struggle or at least choke down some raw apple-cider-vinegar with raw honey in some water? Yes, you could. If you really don't like the raw apple-cider-vinegar, you almost have an aversion to it, then use more honey and a little bit more water and just try to sip it frequently and just get it down. You'll find that it is much more pleasant as you mix it with a little raw, real honey. So those are some ideas there. And so the pox themselves, let's say that they're starting to heal and you're really concerned about your children's skin. Maybe they have a lot. Maybe you have them and you can't help but scratch them because they're so itchy and you're taking calcium and doing raw apple-cider-vinegar. You can actually lay a child in a hot or warm bath with some raw apple-cider-vinegar in it, and that actually will help. It will be a little stingy, so I recommend that you kind of understand that you don't want it real concentrated, but you just want it in there. And it can be soothing, the warm water, and just help. You might even throw a little Epsom salts in there. That could be possibly a little bit helpful as well. And so those are some ideas to try and help with something like a pox. Now, for folks that are concerned about the scarring, that's where you do wheat-germ-oil. Most wheat-germ-oil that you find in a jar or in a plastic bottle that's got to the shelf of a grocery store or a health food store or whatever, if it's just loose like that, it's just a jar of oil, the moment that you crack that lid, you got about 36 hours and that wheat-germ-oil is going to be rancid. So I'm really particular when it comes to wheat-germ-oil that you do want to have it in a form that you can use small amounts, and that's why we choose to have it in a caplet that we can poke a hole in and rub it on the skin. I'll use it for sunburns, I'll use it for any kind of skin damage, any kind of scarring, and it can be an old scar. I'll use it on folks that have lots of tattoos. So some sort of wheat-germ-oil that they can at least put on their skin, those tattoos, to try and heal some of the deeper level issues that I'll find with tattoos. Because it's kind of strange. I'll find scars as an issue on people, and tattoos tend to be kind of scar-like. And so I'll go to work on some tattoos if I find them active on an individual where, hey, I believe some of your problems coming from a tattoo that you have. So wheat-germ-oil becomes an excellent thing to especially do externally for something like a monkeypox. Any kind of pox, really. And so we're going to work toward that immune system support always when it comes to any kind of thing that they're going to try to invent in the media and scare the hell out of people. So until next time, in the next whatever new thing they have, these are kind of foundational things that you can do anytime. You can do Conjuplex. You can do something like raw apple cider vinegar. You can do something like betaine hydrochloride for the stomach. You can do something like enzymes. You can do calcium lactate. You can do wheat-germ-oil. These are all excellent things to be in your repertoire of your quote-unquote medicine cabinet, because this is the real stuff. And so eating foods that are higher in all of these things, looking for foods that have high vitamin E, looking for foods that have high vitamin C naturally, that have trace minerals naturally, that have calcium in them. These are all wise things to do to put in our diet frequently and to start moving away from things that are empty calorie foods like sweets, candy, any bread, any pasta, anything like that that just isn't really high nutritionally. We just want to start eliminating those things because ultimately we want to get everything from our diet if we can, and that's going to be the goal always. So until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on apparently some type of pox.
The information on Dr. Troy Munson's podcast is meant to educate the listener and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.